Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Rossi. Today we're going to be drawing some boats. What you'll be needing today is the white piece of paper in your art folder that is labeled boat. You're also going to need a pencil and an eraser. Last week we drew castles using different kinds of shapes. We layered some simple shapes like circles, rectangles, triangles, squares on top of each other to create a more detailed picture of a castle. So we're going to do something similar today, where we're going to layer our shapes to create a boat. There's a video on my Canvas page where you can listen along to the book Brilliant Boats, and that showed you all different kinds of boats, all different accessories that go along with boats, and the different places you can find them. So we're going to come up with our own boat drawing today. Now you can look back at that story and find a boat that you would like and draw that one. You can come up with your own design for a boat, or you could look on my Canvas page and click on the Boat Ideas link and see how to draw a sailboat, how to draw a cruise ship, and how to draw a Viking ship. But you can always draw your own kind of boat that you're making up out of your imagination, or you can draw a different kind of boat that you know, like a pirate ship or something else like that. Now to draw our boats today, we're going to be using shapes. So you can think about what kind of boat you want to draw in your head, and try and think about what kind of simple shapes make up that boat. And if you're looking at one of the boats from our book, you can think about the different shapes you see that make up that picture. So is your boat a big rectangle? Is it more circular and round? Or is it not a shape that we have a name for, but it's something you can still replicate on your paper? For my boat, I'm going to make a motorboat or like a speedboat, kind of like some of the ones we saw in our book. And I'm going to start by drawing that bottom shape of my boat more in the center of my paper, leaving space all around the edge for me to add background details. So thinking about a motorboat or a speedboat, I'm going to think about what shapes make up a boat. Now the bottom of my boat is going to be round because it is floating on the water, and the top is going to be more flat. So I'm going to start by drawing a big semicircle nice and lightly on my paper. And I'm going to put my boat on an angle so it looks like it is cutting through the waves. So now I have the base shape for my boat. I'm going to start to add more basic shapes on top and then go in, fix them, add some more details to create the overall shape of my boat. Now my speedboat is going to have a little bit of a windshield, which is going to be more of a triangle. So I'm going to come up from the front and then go back down. And then I also want it to have a motor, and our book that we just read talked about the different kinds of motors and anchors, so you can add something like that on your boat. I'm going to create that by just drawing a square to start, and then another rectangle coming down the back. And my boat is going to have some chairs in it, so I'm just going to draw a half of an oval. So it's round on the top and flat on the bottom. So that looks like the side of my chair. Now that I have my basic shapes laid out, I'm going to start to go in and fix some of my areas to make it look a little more realistic. So I'm going to make the front of my boat a little more pointy and have it coming down more straight instead of round. Now that semicircle that I drew was just an idea to help me get started. Now I'm also going to make the back end a little bit more square and then curve it in. So now I can still see that semicircle I started with, but I'm going to take my eraser and erase around those edges that I just changed to fix the shape of my boat. And your boat does not have to be perfect because we're going to add water coming over the top, and we're going to add a bunch of other different things on it. I'm going to go in and I'm going to make my motor a little more round on the edges. Instead of being a perfect rectangle, it's going to have some rounded edges, and then I'm going to make it curve in to the part going down that's going to have our propeller on it. So our propeller is what makes the boat move. It's kind of like a big fan. So I'm going to add that down at the bottom too. And now I can go in towards the front, and I think I'm going to make my windshield a little curvier. make it almost look like a shark's fin, so it looks a little bit more realistic. And now that I have the basic shape of my boat finished and I'm happy with it, I'm going to go in and add some more details. So maybe my boat has a second layer underneath that we can't see. So I'm going to put a couple windows by just doing some circles down along the bottom. And I can add some lines for decorations. So I'm just going to do some different kinds of lines to create a design on my boat. I'm also going to go in on my windshield and add some lines in there. So now I have a frame going around the windshield. And I can even add some extra lines and some extra shapes all over. I want a frame to go around my windows, so I'm going to overlap those circles with another smaller circle right in the center. And I'm going to add a little decoration on my boat's motor using some lines and some shapes. And I can even add a wheel coming out from my windshield. And it's just going to be an oval from this angle since I'm looking at it from the side. And I can draw a person here who's actually driving the boat. So you can think if you're the captain of your boat, if somebody else is driving it, are there other passengers? Maybe you have a Viking ship or a pirate ship, so you want to draw a pirate or Viking who's driving your boat. It's totally up to you. I'm going to draw just a regular old person driving my boat. So I'm starting off with a head, and then I can add like an oval shape for the body, and then just an arm coming up with a circle to hold the steering wheel. So again, even just to draw my person, I used simple shapes, and now I'm going back in and fixing those sections to make it look a little more realistic. So I had a circle, a half an oval, another circle for the hand, and now I can add extra detailed lines to make it a little more realistic. I am going to put a hat on my person driving my boat, because they are going to be our boat captain. I can give him a smile, and I can have some hair coming out from under the hat. I'm also going to put them in a life jacket, since we read about that in our story. So that's just going to go around his arms and across his chest. And those are important when you're in a boat, so that if you fall out, they will help you float in the water. I'm also going to add a name on my boat. So a lot of the boats in our story had different names. A lot of people who buy boats will name them, so you can write whatever you would like as your boat's name. I'm going to write mine right along the back, and my boat is going to be called the Shape Speeder, since we use shapes to make it, and it is a speedboat. Now that we finished drawing our boat, we can think about where our boat is and where it's going. So if you're drawing a Viking ship or a pirate ship, is your boat in the ocean? Is it traveling in a lake or in a river? Is it going from one land to another to find some treasure? If you're drawing a cruise ship, is it going past an island or a volcano? My boat is going to be going out into the ocean from the harbor, so I am going to draw just some wavy lines around my boat to show the water. You can also think about if there are other boats, if there are animals or other things in the water. Maybe you're drawing a fishing boat, so you want to draw some fish, or maybe you want to draw some other sea creatures. It's totally up to you. Now I want some of the waves crashing over the front of my boat, so I'm going to draw a wavy line going over the top of my boat, just along the bottom, and then I can erase that bottom edge of my boat, so it's going to look like the water is covering it, or the water is going over it. And I can do another wave on the back. So when we overlap lines and shapes like this, it helps us show where our picture is in space. So it's showing that my boat is actually in the water instead of just being on top of it. Now I think in this corner I want to draw a little bit of land. So I'm going to draw almost like a beach. I'm going to add some rocks along the edge, and then I'll add some sand in this section. Maybe I'll add some seashells so we know it's the beach, and then just some lumps and dots in the sand. And then I think in the background, I want to draw a little island with a lighthouse. So from this edge of my page, I'm going to do a wiggly line that comes out and then goes back in. So it's kind of like a half of an oval. And I'm going to make sure my water lines go all the way around the back and touch that back edge to show that my island is in the water. And on top of my little island here, I'm going to draw a lighthouse, just like we saw in our book. So I'm going to start by drawing a big rectangle, and then I'm going to do a big half circle along the top to show where my light is. And now I can go in with my detailed lines and change the shape to match a little bit better. So I am going to start to add some stripes on my lighthouse. I am going to add another little rectangle along the top that overlaps the light to show that people can stand up there, because sometimes you can go inside a lighthouse and stand around the top where the light is, and add a little rectangle on the top as the roof of my lighthouse, and then another smaller square all the way up there. So I have that round light in the middle, and then it's surrounded by some smaller rectangles. And I'm going to add some little lines as decoration and some extra lines bursting out to show that the light is on. Now again, maybe you want to draw some other boats in the water, maybe you want to draw some fish. It's totally up to you what kind of details and decorations you want to add to your picture. I'm going to add a sun up in this corner with some clouds and some birds. Since we're by the ocean, I'll draw some seagulls up in the sky. Maybe you want your boat to be driving through a big storm, so there are huge waves crashing around, and you can draw some lightning and some storm clouds in the sky. Maybe it's a pretty day and there's a rainbow going across the ocean. I'm just going to do some little, almost like M shapes with two curvy lines to draw some birds in the sky. And I'm just going to add some extra wavy lines down here, and then my picture is going to be finished. Once you're done, you should have a full picture of your boat that includes a detailed background, and you should have used shapes to create all your little designs. Once you are finished, you're going to put your boat picture in your art folder, and we're going to finish them next time. So we're going to add color, and we're going to use a special material to create our water. So don't forget to save your picture in your art folder for next week, and I will see you then.